Hello, welcome to Zigmatech Learning Hub. I'll be your instructor for civic education. For this class, we are going to be taking our exercises from the Examguide app. If you don't have the application already installed in your device, I want you to download the app in order to follow along in this class. Examguide is the leading educational app that helps students prepare adequately for various exams like UTME, post-UTME, WAEC, GCE, KCPE, IJMB, JUPEB, Calvipedia, BESE, SSCE, NCEE, NECO, etc. You can download the app from www.examguide.com or Google Play Store. Please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to be updated on new videos. Ready for today's class? Okay, let's get started. In today's class, we are going to talk about popular participation. You know, as responsible citizens, we expect you to take part in the affairs of your country, and it's one of the reasons we teach you civic education. So specifically in this topic, popular participation, by the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain the meaning of popular participation, explain why people do not partake or participate in political activities of the state. You should be able to state the types of popular participation, the needs for popular participation in civil society, and discuss the modes of popular participation. Now, let's start from the meaning of popular participation. What does it mean? You know, to participate is to involve, to take part. So popular participation is about the active involvement of citizens in socio-political and economic activities or issues that are of public concern or interest on the state. So it's about citizens taking part in social affairs of the state, political affairs of the country, and economic affairs of the country. So taking part, being involved in all the affairs of the nation. We also define it as a process of involving citizens in the governance of their country and in deciding important socio-cultural, political, and economic matters. So it all boils down to taking part in the whole gamut of the affairs of a state by the citizens of that state. Now, let's look at the types of popular participation or the forms of popular participation. Now, one is political participation, the political forms. Now, political participation is the involvement of citizens in political activities of their state. Now, here we talk about things like registering to vote, voting during election, contesting for election, joining political parties, attending political rallies. So it's about being involved in political activities and governance of the state. Now we also have social participation or form of participation. Now it involves the involvement of citizens in social activities of the state. Now example, if your country is participating in a football match or even your local league, your participation as a player or being a spectator, going there to cheer them up, is one of the ways to participate in social activities. Belonging to age grade and other social groups, related social group, is a way to participate in social activities. Even involving yourself in entertainment of citizens is part of involvement in social activities. Also, we have religious participation. Now, involvement in religious activities in your country. At times, and especially when it has bearing on the issues affecting the state. Now, at times you see our religious institutions or bodies embark on protest march against the government or to protest against government decisions or the state of their country. And at times you see religious groups enlightening members on political issues. We also have economic form of participation, which is the involvement in economic activities to bring about growth and economic development of the state. Now, this is when citizens involve themselves in economic activity. It could be establishment of industry, it could be participating in economic ventures, trade, commerce, commercial activities of a state. So any economic venture, even payment of tax, is part of economic activities of citizens. Now, we also have the educational form involvement in educational activities like what I am doing now. It's part of the educational form, enlightening people, teaching people what they should be taught. It's part of the educational form, serving as a teacher in the school. It's part of educational activity, involving yourself in educational activity, even as a lecturer, in the educational activities of your state. Now, having looked at the types of popular participation, let's look at the needs for popular participation. Why do we need it? What are the importance or reasons for popular participation? Now, it helps to foster political stability in a country. It stabilizes the political system, especially in political participation. We achieve that stability when we have a consistent way of changing our government or bringing in new government. That is stability in our political system. It promotes self-fulfillment and satisfaction. People have that self-fulfillment and satisfaction when they indulge in activities of their state. They can find fulfillment. Example, somebody who contests for election and wins, self-fulfillment. You vote for somebody, the person wins, you get that satisfaction and the self-fulfillment. You establish a company and the company is booming, employing people, you get that self-fulfillment. It brings about popular consciousness, political consciousness, national consciousness, make people to be aware and also identify with the activities of the state. Also, it creates greater opportunity for citizens. Greater opportunity for citizens to exercise their rights, fulfill their obligations as citizens, and also fulfill their personal goals. Your goal could be to be the president of the country, to be governor, to be in any political offices. Achieving that, participating, even voting. The person you voted actually won. It gives you greater opportunity to exercise this. Also, it improves the quality of governance. When people take part in the activity, criticize government and its activities and policies, serve as check or watchdog on government activity, ready to protest against some popular policies of government, of course, it can improve the quality of governance because the government will be conscious of delivering the dividends of democracy in such a way that the policies of government must positively affect the people. So government will improve its governance. It influences government policies. Example, the pressure groups that we know that it is an organization established primarily to influence government policies in the interest of the members. Now, when you involve yourself in a pressure group, of course, we know about many pressure groups that will always, in one way or the other, influence government policy. Even people can decide to protest against government policy to influence government policy. So, popular participation helps to influence the policy of government. It could be that government carries out a referendum to determine the best course of action, and citizens participate. That will influence the policies of government. Also, it helps in development of political system, and also it promotes sense of belonging among citizens. When citizens are carried along and take part in the activities of their state, it gives them sense of belonging, that they are actually part of this country, because when they are taking part in the affairs of their state, it's giving them that sense that they are actually part of this polity. Now, still on the needs for popular participation, it helps to carry everybody along. Popular participation, political, economic, is the means through which people can be carried along so that they can begin to take part in the affairs of their state. It also ensures equitable allocation of resources. That is the distribution of natural capital, man-made resources of the country. So when people participate, the government can equitably ensure that resources, the revenue of the country are equitably, that is equally allocated to the various parts of the country in such a way that no part will feel marginalized in the sharing formula. Also, it enables people to gain socioeconomic and political power. People can realize their goal of gaining political power by taking part in the affairs of the state. Of course, if you don't contest for election, you can't gain political power. If you don't venture into any economic activity, you cannot have that economic power. The same goes for social activities. You can't have social power. So people can gain political, economic, and social power on the state by taking part in the affairs of their state. Then it can make popular participation makes government legitimate. When we say government being legitimate, it means acceptability and recognition of the government by its citizens. Now, when people massively participate, example, in an election, and the government, a particular candidate emerges as the winner, of course, that candidate will be recognized and accepted by members of the society because the people actually took part in the emergence of that particular government. And as such, even the activities and policies of the government will be seen and accorded that legitimacy. Also, it makes the government responsive and accountable. The government can easily, it will make people the government to easily respond to the needs of the people, because the people can actually influence its government to actually behave in a particular way by making responsible policies and positive policies that will affect the lives of the people. And of course, the government will give account of its stewardship when people actually attack the government, criticize the government, show interest in the affairs of their governance. Also, it enriches people's political consciousness and education. When there is popular participation, people's political consciousness, people's knowledge politically, and because people will now begin to gain political education in their country by attending to campaigns, listening to political debates of our politicians or our candidates. When people do that, of course, it will enrich their political consciousness. It enhances democracy. You can't talk about democracy and the absence of people's participation in the affairs of the state. There must be that participation of the people, because democracy is about the people. That's why it is seen as a form of government in which supreme power is vested in the people. So it enhances democracy when people begin to take part in the affairs of their state. It accords people the opportunity to make money. People make money through popular participation. Of course, there are people that make their money during electionary period. People make money by taking part in political activities. Of course, you make money by involving yourself in economic activities of your state. So it gives people opportunity to make their money. And of course, if you contest for an election and win, you make your money, you are being paid, you're not doing it for free. Then it gives people the opportunity to make decisions in their state, decisions that affect them. It could be decision about who we govern, it could be decision about who we represent the people, it could be a decision about the best policy options that the government should embark on. So these are the needs, these are the importance, these are the reasons for popular participation. Now, let's look at the modes of participation. There are two major modes of participation. Number one is traditional mode or direct method. And what does it mean? Now, if you look at when we were taught democracy, we were told that we have direct democracy and indirect democracy. Now, the traditional or direct mode of participation is a type or mode of participation where people are directly involved and partake in the governance and decision making of their state. They don't send delegates, they don't send representatives to take decisions and govern on their behalf. No, rather these people will assemble and come together to make policies and decisions in the state. Example, if you look at what was experimented in Athens, in Greek city-state, where direct democracy or democracy was discovered, you see that that was a direct form of participation where everybody was directly involved in the affairs of the state. And if you look at the Igbo pre-colonial administration, you will see that through the village assembly, people were directly involved in the affairs of the state, and that is where you see decisions are by consensus, general agreement of the people. Now, we have the other mode of participation, which is modern mode or indirect method of participation. Now, this is a mode of participation that developed as a result of the complexity of the society and growing population of the society, which does not give room for direct method of participation. Now, in this form of or mode of participation, people choose their representative by electing them during by voting them during election, so that these people, the few people, will go take decisions on behalf of the people, govern on behalf of the people. And that is why in the modern mode or indirect method, election is paramount in participation. So these are the two forms or modes, two modes of participation: the traditional, which is ancient and outdated or peculiar to traditional or small society, and the modern method or mode or indirect method of participation. Now, let's look at reasons people do not participate in politics. Because we talk about political participation, why do people fail to participate in politics? Number one is economic reasons. Now, it could be as a result of poverty. When somebody will feel, I don't need to vote, I should go to farm on election day, because the primary preoccupation of a poor man is how to eat, his basic needs. Now, economic reason could be that this person has interest, has ideas, wise enough to fix a country or a particular state, but cannot because he does not have the money to pursue his agenda. He cannot purchase the form of expression of interest in a political party, let alone campaign, carry out campaigns. So economic reason is one of the reasons people do not take part in political activities. Discrimination of some group of people. When we have group of people marginalized in their society, seen as not fit or competent to take part in the affairs of the state, or when a particular gender is being discriminated, then there will be no participation from that people or the people that are being those people that are being discriminated. Also, illiteracy and ignorance. When people don't see the need, don't understand why they should participate, when they lack political education, they don't see reason, they didn't go to school, of course they will not participate. Now, religious belief of some people. Now, some people may say that, hey, those in power, they are corrupt, they are sinful, therefore anything that has to do with them, voting with them, I don't want to involve myself. Politics is a dirty game and evil, and therefore, because of my religious belief, I should not indulge in it. Now, because of this religious belief, and there are people, their religion does not permit them to join political parties or join such popular organizations. So, these people, religious group, or religious reason will hinder them from taking part in the affairs of the state. Also, lack of political education. When people are not politically enlightened, when people don't understand or don't see reason or are not enlightened enough to see reasons to take part in the affairs of the state, of course, it can lead to a popular low level of participation, or people will not take part in the affairs of the state. Now, poor image of politics and politicians. Now, this is when people see politics as evil, and they are associating with it, or the politician is associating with evil. Now, when people have this kind of misconception, of course, people will not participate in politics. Now, bad governance. We talk about when the government does not respond to the needs and yearnings of the people. People will not trust their government. People will detest their government, and people will not like to make anything or associate themselves with the government or take part in the governance of their state. So bad governance can be a reason for people not participating in political activities of their state. Also, the type of government. When you have an autocratic government that suppresses freedom of press, freedom of expression, freedom of association, the right to vote, when the government suppresses that and does not give people reason or chance to participate in the affairs of the state, you criticize the government, you're in trouble. You give advice to the government, you're in trouble. When you have such autocratic governance, of course, people will not participate in political activities of their state. When you have one-party system, which limits freedom of association, like forming other political parties, of course, it will limit political participation, and you'll see that many people will not participate in governance of their state. Then, when there is lack of press freedom, because it is through the press that people can enjoy that freedom of expression, and people can get political enlightenment that can trigger public formation of public opinion and also their reaction to government. This can lead to political ignorance and limits political participation. Now, let's look at how we can promote popular participation. How do we make people to begin to take part in the affairs of their state? One, there should be democratic governance. There should be enthronement of democracy. We should have that governance that actually recognizes that the supreme power belongs to the people. That governance where we have free and fair election. That governance where we have rule of law, respect for fundamental human rights, and all the features of democracy. When we have such governance, people will begin to take part in the affairs of the state. If we have multi-party system, which boosts freedom of association, people will begin to take part in the affairs of their state. People will form political parties, join political parties, and express their ideologies through the political parties they have formed. Also, there will be free press, freedom of press. If there is freedom of press, there is no censorship of the press. Now, the press is free to actually give information, investigate and give information to the public, and through it form the opinion of the public, and the public can react against government policies through the press. If we have that, it will promote participation because people can now freely express themselves. If we have free and fair election, we have people have that trust that their votes count, and there won't be any form of intimidation during voting. Of course, people will begin to take part in the affairs of the state. When we have good governance, government that responds to the needs of the people and expectations of the people, when you have it, people will begin to identify with their government and will want to take part in the affairs of their state. So good governance can promote political participation. Political education, when people are enlightened on the need to take part in the affairs of their state, make them to understand that politics affect their life, including their personal lives. When people have that political education through the mass media, through a religious institution, through the school, through their government, through pressure group and other agencies, when people are adequately politically informed, of course, they will see need and also participate in the affairs of their state. If we have what we call universal adult suffrage, that is where every qualified adult has the right to vote and be voted for. They are given that right to vote and be voted for. When you have that, of course, people will participate in the affairs of the state. If there's an end to all forms of discrimination against any group, against gender, a particular gender, if we have that, of course, it will trigger the participation of people. If we reduce the cost of election, the cost of picking interest form, the cost of campaign that in these days you will need to pay some people before you can actually woo them to support you. If we reduce the cost of election, of course, it can make more people to come in to begin to contest for elections. So these are the ways we can actually boost popular participation. So in this lesson, we've been able to talk about the meaning of popular participation as involvement of citizens in political, social, and economic activities of the state. We've talked about the types of popular participation. We've talked about the reason, the needs for popular participation, the modes of popular participation, reasons why people do not take part in the political activities of the state, and how we can promote popular participation. Now we are done with this part. Now let's go to the practice session where we do take a practice test with our exam guide on this topic we have done. So this is our app, Examguide. So let's see how it works. Now for year, of course, I've selected civic education because this is the subject we did. Now for year, we set it at random, any year we pop up. Now for the topic of interest, of course, we did popular participation. You see, I've clicked popular participation. Now I click OK. Now the questions we are going to answer are those on popular participation. They are the ones that will mostly pop up. Now we get started. Now the active involvement of people in the decision-making process in a state indicates, of course, political participation. Now it's not indoctrination, it's not struggle, it's not apathy. Political apathy is when they don't even show interest at all. Now, which of the following is a negative way of engaging in popular participation in a state? So therefore we have negative ways. One, engaging in rallies and demonstration is not a negative, it's encouraged because you have to partake in rallies. Joining political parties of your choice, you have freedom of association, so there's no problem with that. Taking part in general election, you could be taking part in voting or contesting. Now, snatching of ballot box during election is a negative way of engaging in popular participation. Now, political enlightened people may still feel discouraged in political affairs of their society because of political selfishness, selflessness. No, of course, they can be discouraged out of selflessness. Contentment, they can be discouraged because they are contented. Political participation, they can't. Now, if we have political marginalization, ill treatment of a particular group, of course, they can protest their ill treatment by not participating, like what we call boycott in a political process. Now, the division of Nigeria into, okay, this is not what we did. Now, which of the following is not a form of political participation? Taking part in voters registration exercise is a form. Voting during election is a form. Joining political party is a form. Ballot box stuffing during election is not a form. Now, leaders can best protect the interests of their followers by A, embarking on periodic constitutional review, B, creating socio-economic opportunities for foreigners, C, creating conducive atmosphere for participation, and finally, political participation is facilitated by the following reasons: except engage in moral upliftment, fostering political stability, enhancing the dividends of democracy. Of course, we don't participate to engage in moral upliftment. Thank you for participating in today's class. You can practice more questions using the Examguide app. The app scores and gives a detailed explanation of all questions at the end of your practice tests. You can learn a particular topic of interest with different modes like study mode, mark mode, and the practice mode. It also has other features that make learning fun. It is a must for all serious students. Download from www.examguide.com if you don't have it yet. See you in the next class. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and share the videos to people that benefit from it. Bye.